Alright everyone, you remember the Chequers betrayal over there in the UK with Theresa May? Two more Tory chairs, vice chairs I believe, have resigned. That is, several people from within Theresa May's own party are like, well, fuck it. And it's difficult. At this point, there are two groups of people sort of abandoning her, or so it seems. First are people that ideologically oppose the deal itself. That is, they're hardline, that they want a hard Brexit, they're like, the EU is terrible. The Chequers proposal is basically being in the EU without actually being able to vote on its legalism, so it's even worse. And then number two are opportunists. Like these people probably are in the latter group, wanting to save their own jobs. I think at this point it's just a matter of time before May's government collapses. The party collapses, she can no longer govern, she's no longer governing. She may end up being forced to resign. There may be a new election called, or some European stuff over there. Over here, we don't call a new election just because people get pissed off at the current government. I know in Europe that tends to be common, and it's like, well, no wonder things are so bureaucratic. Doesn't make a lot of sense. But Theresa May might get kicked to the curb, it seems. And I mean, Donald Trump's like, well, yeah, the British people will be responsible for whatever happens to her. They're the ones that have to decide. Well, not really. It's more like the Queen and a bunch of, rich moneyed interests decide, but, close. Now, the British people clearly have no say because right now their government is attempting to sell them down the river. Right now, the British people, their government is attempting to say, well, you voted to leave the EU, but we think we're going to remain in the EU but make it even worse. We're just going to subjugate you entirely. The only concession we're even going to ask for is, please don't load us down with economic migrants. But the thing is, the EU's probably not even going to accept it. It'd be funny if the EU rejects the proposal. They're like, I don't think this isn't good enough. We can't abuse you enough. So no, at that point, won't the British government basically collapse out of existence and a new election be called? Nigel Farage looks like he's going to try to elbow his way to the top. He should be prime minister or something. Nigel Farage should really be king. He'd do a better job at running the country. Why don't you just revert back to a more monarchic system and put Farage's people in? Why don't you do that so you can get something accomplished? Your economy would probably skyrocket. Definitely be easier to conduct diplomacy when you stop arguing from a position of total weakness. Theresa May sat down, I think, looked at the economic situation and said, well, we haven't collapsed. We're a nuclear power. We're one of the top 10 economies in the world. I think that we're so weak, though, that we can't even negotiate with Angela Merkel. Angela Merkel has her own problems right now. It looks like the German government is one resignation away from folding as well. Look, Europe is in total chaos right now. You've got constant upheaval all over the fucking continent. And you think that the UK, where things are relatively calm, and your main problem is what structure does Brexit take, you're acting as, Theresa May's acting as though, well, woe is us, pity us, little poor British people. We can't get anything out of the EU whatsoever. We promise to follow your laws, Merkel. We promise to follow the same legalism that caused the Brexit in the first place. How does it make any sense? So Boris Johnson is gone in the wake of one of her other ministers leaving. Now a couple of vice chairs have left. And that won't be the last. There will be other people that resign. Mainly people who want to save their skin because they're going to look... What happens is a few people resign. The government looks shaky. A few other people resign because they get nervous. The nervous people will leave next. These are nervous people. They think, well, the government might collapse. I think there's a better than 50-50 chance it does. I don't want to be here when it does. I don't want to lose my lucrative job for the rest of eternity. I still want to be in politics. Maybe I want to run for office. Maybe get on someone's cabinet. I want to be like an advisor. If I want to do that, I can't be part of this, what people are calling Chequers betrayal. The British people will never want me to govern anything again. I can't even be elected dog catcher or something. So they're going to leave. Once the nervous people leave, it looks even shakier. And then people that are more stalwart begin leaving. At that point, Theresa May can no longer ably govern. I mean, how can she credibly strike any form of deal when members of her own government are leaving in droves? People, that was big news. Like, when somebody resigns off of Trump's cabinet, which has happened a couple times, it's headline news around the world. Trump is stupid. Trump is inept. Trump can't maintain a cabinet. Woe is us. America the fallen. It happens over in the UK. It's like people mention it once and don't care, but it's 4 people within a week is way more than ever left, Trump's inner circle. And yet Theresa May is still stubbornly there. Trump's going to go over. He's not even allowed to meet with certain people. Like, I think they're trying to ban him from meeting with Farage. And Sadiq Khan's like, we're going to fly this big baby balloon over London because somehow that's going to be helpful. Trump's going to go over there and make mincemeat of Theresa May. He's going to say, well, Theresa, you know, person who isn't really on board with my trade and economic proposals and thinks maybe that I'm subhuman because I happen to be an American. Oh, look at your government. Oh, whose country is stronger right now? And it's going to be really funny. He could do that in Germany, too. Angela Merkel, again, that one Bavarian dude, foreign minister, I believe it is. He's like, well, I might resign. I'm going to tender my resignation if Merkel wants it. Collapsing the German government, forcing an election. It's gotten to the point where Bavaria is single-handedly stopping Merkel's proposals and throwing a wrench into the plans of the whole EU. Bavarian independence now, that'd be a good thing. I'd probably be allowed to travel there. I probably couldn't travel to Berlin. I'd probably get, detained by the Gestapo for wrongthink and kept in the airport until it was time for the next flight. Honestly, you look at Europe right now, they're restricting freedom of movement, freedom of speech, privacy's gone out the window entirely. The concept of state or provincial rights like we have here basically doesn't seem to exist, other than in, oddly enough, Germany, where Bavaria can lock down the whole German government. It's really quite funny what's happening in Europe right now and how people, they're in denial about how bad it really is. But this was something that some of us predicted years ago. The center will collapse in Europe. Groups that are outside of that center, both good and bad, and both left and right, will rise up. You're going to get a socialist for every populist that you get. You're also, unfortunately, going to get people who are like literal skins, and they'll be goose-stepping through the streets. You will get that. You're also going to get communists and hardline, like social democrats and stuff. It's inevitable because the center can no longer govern. It no longer has a mandate. That's exactly, look, the Europeans are literally digging their own grave right now. People like Theresa May and Angela Merkel are digging the grave of the status quo, the generally peaceful, prosperous status quo that Europe enjoyed for the last, half century. They're pissing it away. And by the way, that prosperous half century begins before the European Union evolves and begins to end because of the European Union. People like Angela Merkel, I believe, will be looked back on 100 years from now as the villains of this era. I honestly believe that. She will go down in history as the worst leader Germany's had, bar none. And considering the leaders of Germany over the last century, that's quite an accomplishment, Miss Merkel. What about Theresa May? Oh yeah, you began governing on a wave of conservatives because of Brexit, because people were pissed off at the left. And then you decided to basically act like you were a leftist. Wonderful job. I'm sure that you'll still be there in a few years. No, she won't. Now, she'll probably end up resigning in disgrace, which is a good thing. Yeah, you should hold a snap election or whatever you British people do when you get upset about something more substantial than a soccer game. And some people think when I talk like this that I'm bad-mouthing Europeans. I'm not bad-mouthing Europe. I'm bad-mouthing your governments. Because you should be the ones doing that, but I mean, you're not allowed to half the time. Oi, mate, you got a license for that opinion? It's just bullshit, dude. It's complete bullshit, and the big tech firms are partnering with your governments to try to keep even Americans from weighing in on your politics. Good fucking luck. It's hilarious to see. it's such ineptitude. Some of these governments are so inept, it makes France look very well run. It makes Italy looks like a very well-oiled machine right now, just raring and ready to go into a new century because of how much Germany and the UK have problems. Consider that for a moment and then have a good laugh. That's about all. Peace out.